All right, the Buick LeSabre customer had it towed here, and brake pedal super smushy, and as most of them do, she's leaking down there. So we're gonna have to remove all this stuff, get a better eye on it. But even back here, you can see they're pretty scaly. So we better remove some of this stuff so we can get a better look. It looks like it's the problem is where they go into the ABS pump, but who knows what else we'll find. All right, so after a little further investigation, here's kind of some of what we found. Lots of rusted lines you can see down there. So we got to replace all these lines, and we're going to do it with copper line. Heard about this stuff. You can see I've already bent it, kind of playing with it, which will be fun getting the fittings on there. But this stuff is really easy to bend and flare, and it's corrosion resistant because it's copper nickel. So we'll use this and we'll see how it goes. I've got this master cylinder, so these are 1/4 inch coming from the master to the ABS pump, and I've got this one loose. I heated it a little bit with some MAP gas. I'll probably heat this one. I let it soak overnight with some PB blaster. The first one we're going to tackle with this line is this front wheel. So I'm gonna heat this nut, but you gotta be really careful when you're heating these. You don't go too far because that rubber will give way. So we just gotta get a little bit of heat on it, try and get it loose. And this is a job that anyone can really do if you have patience. It's not an expensive job parts-wise, but it's expensive in the fact that it takes so many hours to bend up all these new lines. So we got it loose here. Now let's transfer up to the ABS pump and see if we can unscrew it there. All right, so hopefully you can see I'm taking this line off. This is the one we took off by the driver's front wheel. We're gonna get it out, get it in our hands, and try and make up a new one. I got it loose with the line wrench, and now I'm working it with a open-ended wrench. We got her loose. Now we got to see about trying to get it. Oh, it's still caught in one of these plastic clips back here. And there's one of them. All right, so one of the very first things we've got to do is cut these fittings off of the line. So we'll get our pipe cutter on here and we'll cut these off. Sometimes I take a grinder and just cut through that, which, let's see. Let's see if we can cut it off. Oh, we've already cut through it most of the way. Okay, there's that. So we need to get, there's our fitting. We'll drop him in there. We'll throw that old flare away. And then we've got to do the same here. And we want to put a bend in it up like that. Okay, now we won't lose our fitting. It's weird working with this whole roll because it's trying to pull away from me the whole time. So we'll put a little bend in it there. It looks like we got one going that way. And then we got one going down. See how easy it is to bend, no kinks. We'll carve it out with a knife here, probably blow the air hose through it and get all the crumbs out once we do the other end. Maybe once we flare it, we don't want any of that stuff ending up in the brake system. So and we'll try and put our first flare in the copper and see what happens. Yeah, pretty nice flare. Well, we could have done a little bit better, I think, but it's not bad. Yeah. Okay, so let's try it again on this side and see what we get. So it's a little offset. I think it'll still work, but maybe it's my tool. It looks like the center part of the tool is getting a little bit worn out. But the other ones, yeah, the other ones are too for what we're trying to do. So let's see how it tightens up. So that's gonna screw in there. Now we need to go up here, drag the light with us. Luckily, this copper is super flexible. Always start these things, make sure they're spinning in your fingers before you go tightening anything up. So if you get one cross-threaded, it's not great. Okay, so we spun that one all the way in there. It looks like we gotta put an up bend in it, but I think we'll wait until we get some of these other ones run. We're not gonna tighten that one just yet. So we'll work on a different one, which is also gonna involve pulling it out of those clips back there. If you can see them, we gotta pop out of those clips. So we're probably gonna have to raise the car up some more. We gotta get this clip apart as well. All right, so this line runs over to the passenger wheel. It's a pretty big line. So you can see all the different bends in it and stuff. We're gonna make this in 2 pieces out of the 3/16 copper. We'll put a union in it, and I'm just gonna use an inverted flare for the union. I've already cut the ends off it. So we'll go ahead and cut an end off of each one of these, and then we'll flare it for the brake hose and flare it again for the ABS pump. So what we're doing is just trying to get, you know, the basic shape of this. Luckily with this copper, we'll be able to bend it quite a bit later on. We've got a loop in it up here I'm trying to make now. And this line going over to the passenger side, we're gonna do in 2 pieces. That may not work once we're underneath there. We'll have to see. We need to get this kind of where it goes here. So I'm gonna have to get underneath there and get it on top of everything it's supposed to be on top of. and see what we can work out. All right, so here's what we've got so far. We've almost got it in that clip. We have it run where it used to go. We got to put that little rubber thing on it that goes right here. We'll have to slide it in, and then we'll run over this way. So we've got to put some bends in it over there on that side to try and get it back in the hold downs. I think first we'll hold it down here. It's already started into the brake line, the rubber line. So we'll get our rubber piece slid in there. We'll tighten that back up. So hopefully that'll help hold it some while we put these bends in it. All right, so here's what we wound up with. Sorry, the heater's going. I'll turn it off in a second. I put a union in it here, a bubble flare union, and we still have to put these up into their holders, but I'm gonna wait until we get these other two run, and then we can kind of organize them and make it look as nice as possible, take a little bit of pride in what we do here. So we're gonna work on one of these rear lines now. We have to get it loose from the back. So we're gonna just warm it up a little bit, sprayed it with a little bit of PB Blaster. All right, so I tried to loosen the front one and the bolt broke off. This is plastic, so I can't get really too crazy with any heat on it. I'm quite sure that this isn't gonna work with an open-ended wrench. It turned a little tiny bit. We're gonna have to try and bend this plate out of the way. I think it's gonna break. Yep, it broke. Well, it was expected. So now let's pull this off. And I'll have to dream something up for there to either get those out or slide it over a tiny bit and use like some self-tappers or something to get this to go back on, because it needs to be held right there. So we'll just slide under here and see if we can get it pulled loose. I should be wearing my safety glasses. Don't really want to have metal dug out of my eye again this year. Okay. It's out there. We got another clip way up here forward. Okay, that's the line we're working with. Let's get this other one going. Okay, so we just have one plastic clip way up top here. Okay, so what we're trying to do right now is get this whole line out of here, and it's kind of wrapped around everything. It's out of all the holders, so we're trying to slide it back. Okay, we gotta cut this off so we can use this end. I bought some new fittings, but when we can, we'll use the original ones, and then we'll have to try and figure out what size it is. And it's not like the fitting really goes bad unless it's something super old, where the hex part of it, where the wrench goes, is all rusty. Okay. There we go. We got the fitting. So let's slide this on here. Yeah, should work. Nice flare on it. All right, now we need to kind of start bending this, and this first bend is really tight. So I think we should find something around, even this thing, to try and get it to... I have a tubing bender, but I suspect that'll probably kink it. So let's try and just bend it around this. Yeah, pretty sharp bend. That'll work. Now we need to try to get some of these other bends in it, and that's always fun. We just go along and we kind of bend it the best that we can in the shape of the old one, and we can clean a lot of it up once it's installed. Okay, so we got this one all flared and ready to go. We'll slide this up. We've got to kind of put a bend back in it, something like that, to go into the ABS pump. So I will say, through this process, I learned something, and that the zip ties on a long piece like this to hold it in place while you're putting some of the bends. I'll do that again. Even though we're going to cut all these zip ties off and just throw them away, that was super helpful. I wonder how many of you guys that have done this before. I know I've done it probably a dozen times. I've almost done it twice so far in this vehicle. Have put your flare on your line before you got your fitting on. That's always like a, man, dang it. All right, so let's get this around here and we'll try and start it. We got to replace that line as well, that steel line going to that wheel. We want to make sure this is started square. I actually think it's probably a little bit long. I think we'll wait on that because it looks like it's going to move, that union's going to move back a little ways. So we'll get that other, the rear tire off. We'll get this apart and get it in our hands, and we'll get the new one made up. And that way I won't have to kink this. Same game on this one. We're gonna heat it a little bit, but not too awful much. That's the gas tank, so we don't want to get too carried away there. Piper's not out here today because of the brake fluid all over the floor. I don't want her tracking it all around. I wonder if there's anybody out there that is like pro steel line, having used both. I understand if it's like a race car, maybe you might want steel lines, but I don't think I'll ever go back having used this copper. I think I can do a better job for the person that's asking me to do it, and it should outlast the steel lines too. Like, I think these copper lines are gonna outlast the whole rest of this car. All right, so we got Alex in the car. We gravity bled these a little while, which is just cracking the bleeder open, letting it drip, trying to get all the air out since we have all brand new lines. So Alex is pumping them now. Let's see. Yep, we're activating the brakes. So hold it. So just like we do plug wires, we're gonna make some looms because the plastic ones that were on here weren't in that great a shape. So I'll try and do this so you guys can all see it. And if you've done plug wires this way, it's exactly the same thing. So we start a zip tie on there, and then we go through the lines just like you would a plug wire to make these homemade looms. My wire's a little bit too tight there, so we gotta come out and around my brake line. It's a little bit tight right there. Okay, so we'll tighten this one almost all the way up, but not quite. We'll do that. Now we'll take another zip tie. We'll come through the same way, like this, maybe. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So we'll tighten that one kind of up. I go back through and tighten them all once I got everything where I want it. So we'll pull this away from the transmission a little bit. Okay, so this one, let's put a bend in this zip tie so it pokes through, like up a little bit more of a bend. Almost smash it flat so it's got like a hook in it, and it'll come through here, hopefully. I really didn't think this was gonna, okay. It's like whenever we're filming and stuff always is the most difficult. Okay, so now we'll go through and we'll tighten these up. We'll tighten this one up, and then we'll tighten these ones. Tighten all these up. Okay, now we'll come through and we'll cut them off. I would highly recommend, it's hard sometimes, but cut these off as straight as you can. So if somebody's ever got to work on it, they don't wind up cutting their hands all to pieces on sharp edges of the zip ties. So try and keep them straight. This one's gonna have a little bit of an edge to it. And we'll cut that one off. So that'll hold them all together like this old loom used to. There were several of them through here. We're gonna put one up this way. We'll do the same thing. I kind of overkilled here just to show you guys what's going on, but these plastic ones, a lot of times that come with the car, they don't hold on as much anymore, and I wanted to do something here, just take a little bit of pride in what we do. So far, I would say the copper line's a winner. I would absolutely use it again. All right, so here's our new lines. The copper is a little bit flexible, so, you know, there's like a wave here. I wish I could have got that a little straighter. But overall, the copper line was really good to work with versus the steel. So here's all of our copper running to the ABS pump. We got some copper running from the master cylinder. We ran it all the way to the back. We've bled the brakes out. There's some copper there. So yeah, I would say it's a winner. We've got everything pretty well sorted out. I think now I'm gonna put the airbox back together. Alex is gonna put the wheels back on, and we'll take it for a drive. We got some snow. Great hunting this year, I'm sure. My first year in a long time not being out in the woods, but lots of work. So that's it. It drives really nice. The brakes work great. I've forgotten how comfortable these things are to drive. Yeah, so I would recommend the copper brake lines, and just take your time. They are really flexible, but that's it. We got all new brake lines. Every metal line in the car's been replaced, and the brakes work excellently. So we're gonna pull it inside and just make sure that there's no leak. And again, if you enjoyed this or found it at all entertaining or useful, let us know in the comments, and give us a like and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.